Front and Center. Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome to Front and Center, where we focus on developments in the Philippines, legislation that provides policies and directions that strives to promote a better economy for the country, issues that concern the welfare and well-being of every Filipino. All of these and more will be Front and Center. You can watch this program on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, Radyo Pilipinas World Service, and you can hear this broadcast on our audio streaming at Evox PBS receiver app, and also on our shortwave broadcast through following frequencies: 12.020 megahertz, 15.640 megahertz, and 17.665 megahertz. This is your host, Jerome Toledo. Let's begin Front and Center on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Let's focus first on the workers' wages or salaries of among Filipinos, as this salary or workers' wage or salaries is the leading concern of adult Filipinos in the fourth quarter of 2025. That is what the latest Tugon ng Masa survey conducted by Okta Research. And 45% of respondents said that improving or increasing workers' wages and salaries is their main concern. And per area, as per Okta Research survey says, 47% of respondents in Balance Luzon, 47% in Visayas, 42% in Mindanao, and 41% in the National Capital Region or NCR said the Marcos Jr. administration must act on improving or increasing wages or salaries of workers. The said survey results show a steep increase in public pressure for higher wages. And in connection with that statement from the Okta Research, the NCR Wage Board has recently approved 800 peso wage hike for domestic workers. Also, in 2025, the Philippines approved minimum wage hikes in 14 regions, benefiting over 5.2 million workers with daily increases for private sectors or private sector employees ranging from 20 pesos to 100 pesos. And also, the domestic workers receiving 300 to 2,000 pesos more monthly. And to give us some analysis regarding this one, okay, all right, we now have on the line the executive director of National Wages and Productivity Commission of the one of the attached agencies of labor or Department of Labor and Employment, Executive Director Maria Criselda C. Good morning, Executive Director. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, great. All right, thank you so much, Executive Director C, for joining us in the program Front and Center on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This is Jerome Toledo. And first things first, I know you have lots of activities going on right now. Given that 14 regional wage hikes were already implemented in 2025, as Labor Department reported. And also, at the same time, there's a survey that was released by the Okta Research that says that workers' wages or salaries and also improving salaries of Filipino workers is one of the main concern of adult Filipinos in the fourth quarter of 2025. So how does the National Wages and Productivity Commission interpret the fact that 45% of Filipinos still rank higher wages as their top urgent concern, Executive Director?
Hi, Jerome. Yes, we understand the sentiment of our mga kababayans as reflected in the Okta survey. And at the same time, we believe that long-term and meaningful wage growth must be anchored in increased productivity among enterprises and workers. And to support this goal, in fact, the Commission continues to provide free productivity training and technical assistance to our micro, small, and medium enterprises so that we can help them enhance their capacity for productivity improvement and gain sharing. Additionally, we also connect small micro businesses with the different programs of the Department of Labor and Employment, like the DOLE Integrated Livelihood Program and Adjustments Measures Program, to improve their competitiveness, making them sustainable, efficient, and resilient.
Okay. By this initiative, Executive Director C, so this is what we call upskilling program of the National Wages and Productivity Commission.
Hello? Hello, sorry, you're coming in choppy. Can you
Yeah,
please
yeah.
repeat the question?
Okay. So this initiatives that you mentioned, Executive Director C. So this is what
Yes.
we call the upskilling of our workers.
Yes.
Mm,
Yes, the Department of Labor and Employment through the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority is currently providing capacity building for our workers, upskilling programs under the EBIT law.
mm-mm. Oh, all right. Okay. Also, sticking on the issue, particularly this concern of our Filipinos regarding their salary, will the commission or the National Wages and Productivity Commission will direct its regional boards to initiate motu proprio or own initiative of wage reviews before the typical 12-month anniversary of the last wage orders, Executive Director?
Um, the regional tripartite wages and productivity boards are fully aware of their mandate under Republic Act 6727, or the Wage Rationalization Act,
Mm,
which provides their specific role in setting minimum wages based on region-specific socioeconomic conditions. And based on this mandate, the omnibus rules provide that no wage order may be issued within a period of 12 months from the effectivity of the current wage order. However, it does not preclude our regional boards to conduct continuous review of the socioeconomic conditions in their regions, particularly in holding consultations as necessary. And if the regional board finds urgent and reasonable grounds to issue a new wage order within the 12-month period, it can do so, and if affirmed by the commission, the regional board may already initiate a wage determination process. So in this context, the NWPC does not need to direct the regional boards to initiate a wage review because it is already inherent in their functions.
okay, I see. But given that statement, Executive Director C, so it's only one time a review of regional wage. Is that correct, Executive Director C? And there's no second round of hikes that will be triggered.
It's really up to the board to identify if there's a necessity of reviewing the wage order within the 12-month period. Although we have a 12-month non-disturbance period, but as I said earlier, if the board finds reasonable grounds to already initiate its review before before it reaches the anniversary date, then it can do so.
Okay. For the benefit of our listeners, Executive Director C, what are the conditions that the Regional Wage Board will need to approve a wage hike?
Again, please. Sorry.
What would be the criteria for the regional wage board to approve wage hike?
Okay. When it comes to determining the adequacy of the minimum wages, the regional boards are guided by a legal framework that mandates consideration of 10 relevant criteria as outlined in RA 6727,
Hmm.
also known as the Wage Rationalization Act. These factors encompass a wide range of economic and social indicators, which we can actually group into three broad categories. The first is the needs of workers and their families.
Hmm.
The second is the capacity to pay of the employers. And the last one is, of course, the requirements of socioeconomic development. And under these three broad categories, there are several indicators under it, which the regional boards consider every time that they review the socioeconomic conditions in the region.
Okay. All right. So, how? I'll be going to the next question here, Executive Director Cecil. How does the NWPC weigh qualitative data from independent surveys like this one? We've mentioned the Okta research against quantitative data like the Consumer Price Index. When it comes to when determining the adequacy of the current minimum wage.
We understand that based on the independent surveys, for example, like that that has been conducted by Okta Research, provides useful insights into public sentiments because these are the lived experiences of our workers and their families. However, when it comes to determining the adequacy of the minimum wages, there are several, as I said earlier, factors that we have to consider, and we do simulation, computations, and we provide the regional boards with scenarios that they can use in the determination of the necessity of issuing a wage order.
And yeah, you mentioned earlier those are criteria that the regional wage board will need to review and implement a wage hike. And also, I would like to
That's
get your
correct.
thoughts. Yeah, all right. I would like to get your thoughts on this one, Executive Director C. So, how does the NWPC believe the current regional mechanism is still effective in addressing what is clearly a unified national concern? So, as mentioned in the survey, that 45% of Filipino workers or Filipino adults rather are concerned about their salaries. Is there a move to support a one-time recovery hike to align with the public stated needs?
As it is right now, Jerome,
Mm.
the minimum wage policy in the Philippines is consistent with the international standards. And we believe that the current decentralized regional mechanism remains effective because it recognizes that each region has different levels of development, economic structure, and enterprise capacity in each region is different. So, under this framework, our regional boards evaluate wage adjustment, as I said earlier,
Mm-mm.
based on certain criteria, ensuring that their decision reflect local condition and are grounded in evidence. So again, we acknowledge public concerns and we support the call of our president to study the proposals, the existing proposals right now, which were being discussed in the lower and in the upper chambers, including the suggestion for a one-time recovery wage increase that you mentioned a while back. And
Mm-mm.
on our part, the NWPC is ready to provide the necessary technical inputs to help inform policy decisions. Our commitment is to always promote fair and balanced wage policies
Mm-hmm.
that would improve our workers' take-home pay while at the same time safeguarding enterprise viability. Because any proposal to increase wages must undergo careful evaluation and must consider the workers' welfare together with the employer's capacity to pay and, of course, the socioeconomic implications of such proposals.
The capacity of employers and at the same time the socioeconomic conditions in a certain region or province. And also, I would like to ask this Executive Director C. How does NWPC support the clamor or call for abolition of provincial rate and unify it into a single national minimum wage to ensure fair pay of workers? Because this particular proposition has been ongoing since a few or since last year rather.
Hello, Jerome. Did I get you right that how do we support the clamor or the call for
Yeah.
abolition of the provincial wage
Yes.
rate?
Right. That's correct.
Okay. We are of the view that the proposal to impose a national minimum wage must, as I said earlier, must be carefully reviewed and must be weighed equally with the workers' rights and welfare and the interest of the
Recording in
employers.
progress.
Again, our role is to provide technical inputs with respect to the proposed minimum wage increase to guide our legislators to come up with better wage policy.
Okay, okay, very well said. Okay, and my last question here. I understand that you are in an event today, Executive Director C. I will not buy much of your time. Okay, what specific guidelines is the NWPC issuing to private companies to address wage distortion for the 8 million workers earning above minimum wage who are likely the ones feeling the most pressure in the fourth quarter 2025 survey?
Yeah, for the issue of or regarding the issue of wage distortion, it is a situation wherein you eliminate or there is a severe contraction of the wage salaries between and among employer groups. And it actually diminishes or obliterates the distinction of the wage structures based on skill, length of service, and other logical basis of differentiation, depending on the competitiveness of the skill of the workers. So when these distinctions are eliminated and contracted, what the firm can do for organized firms, the employers and the union shall negotiate to correct the distortion using the grievance procedures in the CBA, or if the dispute remains unresolved, they can settle it through voluntary arbitration with the National Conciliation and Mediation Board. But for the unorganized firms, the employers and the workers will endeavor to correct the distortion, and any dispute is to be again settled through the NCMB, or if it remains unresolved, it can be resolved through compulsory arbitration through the Labor Relations Commission. I just would like to inform our viewers and listeners that the NWPC has a information that they can find in our websites about the suggested formulas that they can use in correcting wage distortion. So it is actually found in NWPC Advisory Number 1 Series of 2023. And this provision for correcting wage distortions is also stipulated in all of the wage orders issued by the regional boards.
Okay, okay, and that's something our workers can go to whenever they have questions or inquiries regarding their concern on the wage distortion. And just to make it clear, Executive Director C, before I let you go, regional wage boards can only approve wage hikes once a year. Is that correct?
The wage order cannot be disturbed within a year. That's correct. But if based on the assessment of the regional boards of the socioeconomic condition in the regions, because they do regular assessment and they find it necessary to issue another wage order within the 12-month period, they can do so.
I see. Okay. And also you mentioned about the upskilling of our workers so that they can improve their salaries as they are working for a certain company. And also the wage hike depends on the certain conditions in the region, like the socioeconomic and also the state or the financial capacity of employers in a region or in a province. Executive Director Z.
That's correct. Please note that the function of the regional board is just to set the floor wage or the minimum wage to protect our vulnerable workers. But for the highly skilled workers, they can negotiate better terms and conditions with their employers.
All right. Okay. And can I get your final message to our workers or Filipino workers here who are watching and listening right now regarding this issue on the or concerns about their salaries? Go ahead, Executive Director C.
Yes, thank you, Jerome. As I mentioned a while back, the Octa survey confirms that wages are the top concerns of our Filipino workers, and the government's response emphasizes that raising the take-home pay of our workers require a whole of government approach anchored on higher productivity, particularly in competitive industries, and also some measures to manage commodity prices. We need to make our firms more efficient, and the role of government is to provide a policy environment to enable our enterprises to flourish. Now, on the part of the Department of Labor, we promote policies to strengthen our labor market institutions through strong tripartism and social dialogue, and also enterprise support and skills development. And all this would ensure that wage growth is sustainable, inclusive, and economically sound. Thank you, Jerome, for the opportunity.
Okay, and it's a whole of nation approach. And with that, thank you so much, Executive Director Maria Crisel, the CD of the National Wages and Productivity Commission and attached agency of the Department of Labor and Employment. Have a good day, and thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And Front and Center will be right back as we tackle about this issue on the China. Again, spreading malicious or maliciously spreading disinformation and smearing the Chinese image as the Chinese embassy accused the PCG spokesperson, Commodore J. Tariela, and some other lawmakers, and also our Filipino forces are being dragged into this issue with China, and we will talk about that in a bit with international studies expert Professor Renato De Castro when we come back here. Stay with us.
Itinuloy na po natin ang zero balance billing. Libre po. Ibig sabihin, ang serbisyo sa basic accommodation sa ating mga DOH na ospital, wala nang babayaran ang pasyente.
Ang dami pong challenge, hindi po namin alam kung saan namin kukunin, ganon, nag-iisip kung paano namin mababayaran. Siyempre po, masayang masaya, super saya po dahil na zero billing po kami. Opo, malaking po talaga, malaking tulong po. Mabilis lang din po.
Bayad na ang bill ninyo. Uulitin ko, wala nang kailangan bayaran ng pasyente basta sa DOH Hospital dahil bayad na po ang bill ninyo.
Naiyak ako kasi sobrang saya. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President Bongbong Marcos Jr. Hindi kami nagkamali ng taong ihinalal.
Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome back to Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Still with me, Jerome Toledo. And again, we mentioned earlier about the issue between China and the Philippines as just recently, the Department of National Defense and the Armed Forces of the Philippines have jointly condemned the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs for accusing certain Philippine uniformed personnel of, as they call it, habitually inciting confrontation about the West Philippine Sea. And Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun claimed on January 19th that some Philippine service members were driven by personal political motives, quote and unquote, and had repeatedly made outrageous and absurd statements. And the Defense Department vowed to continue speaking against China's malign action as it reiterated that the West Philippine Sea and any of its features have never been part of China, rather. And just to recall, we mentioned earlier that Chinese embassy accused the Coast Guard or Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tariela, of maliciously spreading disinformation and smearing China's image. And that move escalated when the embassy filed a diplomatic protest over a social media post featuring an image resembling Chinese President Xi Jinping. Okay, so I think we now have on the line the international studies expert from De La Salle University, Professor Renato De Castro, as always. Thank you so much, Professor De Castro, for joining us again in the program to explain this development between Philippines and China relations.
Good morning, Jerome. How are you doing?
Doing good, and just analyzing another issues revolving the China-Philippine relations. How do you interpret this time the China's shift from accusing the Philippine government to targeting specific uniformed personnel? Is this a deliberate attempt to drive a wedge between the armed forces of the Philippines leadership and the civilian administration, or is this a classic form of gaslighting tactic in cognitive warfare, Professor? Professor? Okay. All right. Okay, we have lost connection with Professor Renato De Castro, so we'll try to get him back on the line. Okay, because as we know, the situation gets even, or the situation between China and the Philippines escalates, and it gets further heated because of this. I think, as I can see it, this is kind of a world war, and but before we have confronted a lot of times with China's military. But okay, do we have Professor De Castro? Okay, we will try to get back Professor Renato De Castro, the international studies expert. But in the meantime, we'll have a very quick break here in the program. Stay tuned.
This is a public service announcement.
Maging handa sa oras ng sakuna. Para sa iyo at sa iyong pamilya, laging siguruhin. Go Bag ay nakahanda at naglalaman ng mga sumusunod. Ilang pirasong damit, ready-to-eat na pagkain at inuming aabot ng 3 araw. Personal na gamit para sa inyong hygiene. First aid kit kabilang ang alcohol, bandages, gamot sa lagnat, ubo at sipon, pati na rin ang inyong vitamins at maintenance medicines. Maglagay ng pito, flashlight, lighter o posporo. Huwag kalimutan ang mga charger o power bank. At higit sa lahat, isama ang mga importanteng gamit gaya ng inyong mga legal na dokumento, IDs, ATM o passbook, insurance at iba pa.
This is a public service announcement. Public service announcement
From PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service, and Radyo Pilipinas.
This is a public service announcement.
Discipline is the key. Umiwas sa aksidente sa daan. Ang pagmamaneho ay may kaakibat na responsibilidad, hindi basta mapaandar lang ang sasakyan. Kilatisin ang sarili, ang kahandaan sa manibela, siguruhing inyong konsentrasyon ay hindi magagambala. Importante rin na ating laging isipin, init ng ulo ay huwag pairalin, bagkus kaligtasan ng lahat. ang siyang dapat unahin. Isang mahalagang paalala mula sa Presidential Broadcast Service at Radyo Pilipinas, Radyo Publiko 738.
This is a public service announcement. From PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service at Radyo Pilipinas, Radyo Publiko 738.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Paliwanag mo sa tao na hindi totoo yan.
Dahil ang totoo, yung totoo ang dapat ninyong malaman.
Nagkalat sa internet ang fake news
Ang
o
ginagawa
mali
ng
at
fake news, tinatapon niyo yung tao.
what they are doing is creating panic.
We say no.
Yung pagkalat ng fake news. And some of it's dangerous.
Sana iwasan po natin pag-spread ng fake news.
At di magpapakalat ng disinformation at misinformation ang kasulukuyang administrasyon.
Stop telling us fake news because you're wrong.
Para sa totoo at mapagkakatiwalaang mga balita at impormasyon, Radyo Pilipinas.
All right, welcome back to Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Still with me, Jerome Toledo. Apologies for that technical difficulties we had met just a few minutes ago. But we have now on the line the international studies expert from De La Salle University, Professor Renato De Castro. Good morning again, Professor.
Good morning, Jerome. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Just analyzing these developments regarding the China-Philippines relationship, particularly this one, because there's some kind of a shift when it comes to China's dealing with the Philippines, rather. So, how do you interpret the China's shift from accusing the Philippine government to targeting specific uniformed personnel? Is this a deliberate attempt?
Well, what we're seeing right now, Jerome, is the application of what is called China's wolf warrior diplomacy.
Mm-hmm.
So let me explain what is this wolf warrior diplomacy. This was a form of diplomacy that was innovated by the Chinese Foreign Ministry during the time of the COVID-19 pandemic. So during the time of the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of people, especially in the West, were accusing China of, in a way, complicit in the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic, in a way that the Communist Party tried to hide the fact that there was already an outbreak. So it was a reaction. So what are the characteristics of what we call wolf warrior diplomacy? Mm-hmm. Number one, of course, it violates the very essence. Not only Commodore J. Tariela said that China is violating, the Chinese embassy in Manila is violating the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations of 1961, which provides for, of course, the use of, amity and, of course, goodwill, good faith in terms of trying to resolve diplomatic dispute. But wolf warrior diplomacy simply, of course, violates the very essence, in fact, of diplomacy. In diplomacy, as a practice of diplomacy, there's a saying that goes, diplomacy is the art of telling someone to go to hell in a manner he would look forward to that trip. China basically violates it, the application. It's rude, it's blatant, it's direct, it's very aggressive. So China applied this, of course, against the United States and against Australia. And, of course, more recently, China applied really head-on, blatant wolf warrior diplomacy against Japan. Remember in November when the Japanese Prime Minister Sanai Takeishi said that Japan considered a Taiwan contingency a matter of Japanese national survival. And we see Japan, of course, being targeted by China's wolf warrior diplomacy. It's crass, it's blatant. The purpose here really is very aggressive. The purpose is to put the country, the targeted country, simply on the defensive. And right now, of course, we are the receiving end of China's wolf warrior diplomacy. It's not only crude, rude, blatant, and it's targeting, of course, Filipino public officials. Like, for example, no less than Commodore J. Tariela.
Right. And also the National Security Council labeled that statement coming from the Chinese embassy as undiplomatic and uncalled for. So meaning to say they overstepped the bounds of the convention.
And not only overstepped, they simply threw the very essence of what we call credible traditional diplomacy out into the window.
Okay. Okay. So.
You know, that's an element here. By attacking, of course, our public officials and basically calling what they say as smear, so forth and so provocative, they're simply also ignoring and downplaying the fact that we have a degree of legitimacy. We might have disagreements, but the very essence, the first effort to manage disagreements is to at least consider the stake of the other party as having a degree of legitimacy. Chinese wolf warrior diplomacy basically deprive you of any sense of diplomacy. For the Chinese, we're simply provoking, we're simply smearing them when, of course, we state our disagreement with them, especially, of course, when it comes to their expansion and harassment of Filipino Coast Guard vessel and naval vessels and Navy ordinary fisher folks in the West Philippine Sea, South China Sea.
Okay.
So we don't have legitimacy. We don't have the right to disagree with China.
Right. And also, I would like to put a spotlight on this another statement from the Foreign Ministry of China, claiming that the Philippine service members are driven by personal political motives. So, what is exactly China trying to imply here?
Again, it's effort to delegitimize what they're saying because, you know, for example, Commodore J. Taliela, and even, I would have to mention, of course, Rear Admiral Roy Trinidad, who's the Navy spokesperson, even Secretary Guido Chidoro, when he came out with a statement last December 31, expressing our concern regarding the massive Chinese military exercise around Taiwan. So by saying that they're simply, you know, driven by personal interest, again, it's an effort, clear effort, to delegitimize what they're saying. You know, what they're basically expressing is the position of the government, the disagreement of our government. The fact that from our perspective, Chinese actions are, of course, detrimental to our national interests. We might have disagreement. Again, going back to my earlier point, we might have disagreement, but of course, in effort to manage our disagreement dispute, we have to agree to disagree. China is simply telling us we don't have the right to disagree with China. Every time we disagree with China, it's a matter of propagation, smear, and simply our officials expressing their personal or vested interests.
Okay. All right. And also, our National Security Council lamented the continuous non-compliance of China in the 2016 arbitral tribunal, which the Philippines has won. We'd like to ask this, Professor Rene, is this award still serve as an effective legal shield and diplomatic sword against China, and to rally support?
Yeah, it's there. And of course, China has ignored this. And of course, China is spending probably billions of dollars to discredit the ruling. Coming out with publications, coming out with conferences, paying a lot of foreign intellectuals or scholars to discredit the July 12, 2016 Article Tribunal ruling. So that's what has China been doing, ignoring it and discrediting the July 12, 2016 article ruling, but at the same time accusing us of lying.
I see. Okay, but as the rhetoric becomes increasingly sharp and personal, I think, as I see it here, between the Philippine Defense Department and the Chinese Foreign Ministry. So do you see a heightened verbal exchanges between them?
Well, the statement that the National Security Council came out basically is a signal that we won't be backing off. We will not allow China to dominate the discourse or narrative here in our society when it comes to the West Philippine Sea, South China Sea. Because if we do not react, we do not respond, we do not make a pushback, eventually, of course, our voices would be repressed by this China's wolf warrior diplomacy. China will not only control our exclusive economic zone, have, of course, make it part of Chinese territory. China would also subjugate the Filipino nation in terms of its effort, of course, to offer to the world and offer to our own people our specific narrative regarding the issue with the West Philippine Sea and South China Sea.
Okay. All right.
So I don't think any ordinary Filipino should allow that to happen. Especially, of course, China is also paying a lot of our own citizens to articulate the Chinese narrative.
Yeah, and that's what Commodore J. Taria also lamented the Filipino trolls that are siding in favor of China.
Sometimes so-called Filipino scholars, although honestly, I don't see them being credible within the Philippine academic community. I could think of a couple of them who claim that they're Filipino scholars, but they don't have any credible academic position in any Philippine university. I don't have to mention names.
Okay. We will reserve on that, Professor Rene. But there's a development here, Professor Renato de Castro. So, this month, the China Coast Guard was involved in a high-profile humanitarian operation to rescue the crew of the MV Devon Bay. That's a Singapore flag cargo vessel, and that ship was carrying minerals from Zamboanga City, and that is about to dock in Guangdong, China, when it capsized in the South China Sea. The China Coast Guard is involved in rescuing our Filipino crews there. And what can you say about this? This humanitarian operation happened in the midst of our ongoing row with China.
Well, let's provide it in UNCLOS. There's a moral obligation on the part of any Coast Guard or even naval vessel or any ship on sea to render assistance to those who are in need. So we have to commend, of course, the Chinese Coast Guard for complying with this humanitarian obligation on providing assistance to those who are distressed at sea. So we have to commend them. And of course, eventually those Filipino seafarers were, of course, transferred to the Philippine Coast Guard, and the Philippine Coast Guard thanked their counterpart in China. So that is a positive development.
That's right, and also it's an international water, so any country or for example Filipinos who are in distress at the sea can be assisted by any nation. But which happens, China Coast Guard is there.
Yeah, we also extended assistance to Chinese seafarers who are in distress in the past, in several instances.
But it doesn't affect the situation now, Professor Rene.
Well, in a way, I would say there's a light at the end of the tunnel, at least. The Philippines and the Chinese Coast Guard are still cooperating when it comes to those instances. But of course, at this point in time, we're simply focused on the dispute. So in a way, it's also a reflection of our complex relationship with China. There's an element there that we consider as competitive, conflictual, but there are also aspects of that relationship that is, of course, seen as cooperative. So in all cases of interstate relations, you have these two dynamics: the conflictual, competitive, going alongside the cooperative aspect of the overall relationship.
I see. Okay, so with all of these developments, with this verbal or heated verbal exchanges between the our Defense Department and the China Foreign Ministry, and also the Chinese government itself. So, do you see that President Marcos Jr. would step in and speak out on the activities of China in our maritime territory and also on our cause?
Well, the statement of the National Security Council is, in a way, a statement coming from no less from the office of the president, because it came from the office. The National Security Council is part of the office of the president. The National Security Advisor, Secretary Año, is in a way the outer ego of the president when it comes to national security matters. That statement that came out from the National Security Council, speaks a lot about the position by no less than our president, President Bongbong Marcos Jr.
And it's just one point before I let you go. So this is a part of Marcos Jr.'s statement that a friend to many and enemy of none. Is that
well, that's the goal. That's the goal we would like to achieve. But of course, just like in any instances where we have a goal, we have a vision, it's easier said than done.
All right, very well said. Okay, so we don't have much time left here, but I appreciate your participating in the program Front and Center on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Thank you again so much for joining us in the program, the International Studies expert, Professor Renato De Castro of De La Salle University.
Jerome, have a great day.
Have a great day, too. All right, and with that, we now conclude this edition of Front and Center on Radyo Pilipinas World Service, together with our technical team headed by Ms. Susan Aizon. Also on our Warcast, we have Hiro Lucero and audio streaming, Mr. Leo Magpayo. This is your host, Jerome Toledo. Until next time, mabuhay.
You have just heard and watched Front and Center. Front and Center. Join us again for another edition here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Front and Center.